Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be putting our focus on hyperbolic function, where I'm going to be giving you a template that contains examinable questions. And I'm also going to show you how to answer all of these questions. Here's the template. They're going to be asking you these questions in your exam. Usually they ask you about equation of the asymptotes, the values of x and y intercept, sketch the graph, domain, range, equation of the line of symmetry with a positive gradient or negative gradient, and the transformation questions. So we're going to be answering all of these questions using a general equation, and then we are going to pick a question from the exam paper and try to answer it. A hyperbolic function is given by the equation y equals a divided by x plus p plus q, where p represent the vertical asymptote q represent the horizontal asymptote. And then A just tells you where your graph is going to be situated. For example, when the value of A is greater than 0, which represents that A is positive, it means that your graph is going to be on the first and the third quadrant, just like this. And when the value of A is less than 0, of which means that is negative, it means that your graph is going to be on the second and fourth quadrant, just like that. It will be in this way or that way. Now let's try to answer the exam questions using the general formula. Now let's try to answer these questions, or maybe some of these questions, using a general equation. Let's take you have y equals a divided by x plus p plus q. And the first question, let's say write down the equations of the asymptotes. This one, we said it is the vertical, is the horizontal asymptote, of which represent y, and this one represent x cut. So we are going to answer the first question. Write down the equation of the asymptotes. So we are going to say x is equal to this one, of which is p. But if p is positive here, it means that you are going to write negative p here. When it's negative, it's supposed to be positive here. And then the horizontal asymptote is y equals q. On this one, you don't change its sign. You just take it as it is. The second question, calculate the x and the y intercept. On this one, we are not going to be able to calculate the y and x intercept since we don't have values. But we know that for x intercept, we must let y equals 0, and then for y-intercept you must let x equal 0. Let's jump to the third question. The third question, we are supposed to sketch a graph. We are going to jump this one as well. And then the fourth question, you are supposed to write the domain and a range of this function. How do we write the domain? Domain and a range. On this one, when you write a domain, you use the equations of the asymptotes. You're going to say x is the element of all real numbers, but x is not equal to the value of the asymptote here, of which is negative p. What about the range? Y is the element of all real numbers, but y is not equal to the value of y is q, of which is q. If you have values here, you are going to put them here instead of writing p and q. And now let's jump to the fifth question, of which is the equation of the line of symmetry with a positive gradient and the one with a negative gradient. Question number 5. Number 5, we are going to write the equation of the line of symmetry with a positive gradient, positive value of m. It's going to say, you take it like this, okay? Line of symmetry, you take it like this. You take y equals this. You just take this part. Actually, just leave out a and take everything that is here. It means that it's gonna say y equals x plus p plus q. Y equals, then you just add this, x plus p plus q. If you have values, it means that these two are going to be added so that you can get your values here. Okay, the one with the negative gradient, you do the same thing, but you put a negative. You're gonna say y equals negative, and then you isolate x and p inside the brackets, x plus p, and then plus this one at the end, which is q. So this is gonna give us y equals, when you multiply everything by negative, it's going to be negative times negative, of which is negative times positive, negative. This one and this one is going to give us negative p, and then plus q. Then you group the like terms, negative x, this one and this one, you are going to add them. They're going to give you a certain number, which is minus p plus q. Just like that. And then we are done about these questions. These are additional questions where you're going to talk about transformation, and these apply to all these functions. So we are going to pick a question from the exam question paper and try to answer all these questions here. Let's take, you have this equation, f of x equals 3 divided by x minus 3 minus 2, and we are supposed to answer all these questions that I just gave you here. The first question, x, write down the equation of the asymptotes of this function. I already told you that this one is the asymptote of x and this one y. It means that we are going to say 1 x equals this one. You change its sign, like I said. It's negative here, it's gonna be positive here. And then y equals this one. You don't change it, you just write it as it is. So it's gonna be negative 2. And then we go to the next question, number 2. Calculate the x and the y intercepts. What are we gonna do here? We already know that for x-intercept you must let y equal 0. For y-intercept you must let x equal 0. So we're gonna start with the x-intercept. X-intercept, you must let y equal 0. So I'm going to write the equation here. Y is equal 3 divided by x minus 1 minus 2. Then we put 0 on the y, and then 3. This is x minus 1 minus 2. Then you take 2 to the other side, which is negative here. When it jumps the equal sign, it's going to change its sign and become positive 2 equals 3 divided by x minus 1. And then you cross multiply. When you cross multiply, just introduce 1 here as your denominator, and then you cross multiply. This times this, it's going to give you 3. This multiplied by this, it's gonna give you x minus 1 times 2. And then you multiply everything by 2. X times 2, it's gonna give you 2x. X times, let me put a bracket here, x times negative 1. I mean negative 1 times 2, it's gonna give you negative 2. Then what do you do next? We take this one to the other side. We are going to get 3. This one's gonna be positive 2 equal 2x. This is gonna give you 5 and 2x. Then you divide both sides by 2. And then this is gonna give you x equals 5 over 2. You're gonna get 5 over 2, where the coordinates are going to be 5 over 2 is to 0. Then y-intercept. Y-intercept, we say we must let x equals 0. So we're gonna say y equal 3 divided by x, of which is going to become 0 minus 1 minus 2. And this is gonna give you negative 5. So the coordinate of the y-intercept is 0 is to negative 5. Okay. We go to the third question, which says sketch the graph. How do we sketch the graph? We're going to have our Cartesian plane like this. This is the y. Okay. There we go. What is, okay, when you sketch a graph, you must start with the asymptotes first. The vertical asymptote cuts our x-axis at 1. So if I say this is 1, it means that the asymptote will be like this. it's just a dotted line or a broken line like this. And then the horizontal asymptote is -2. If this is -1, -2 will be somewhere here. Oh, like that. Let's go like that. Yes. And then this is -2. This is 1. And then let's go to the x-intercept. X-intercept, like I told you that when the value of a is positive, our graph is going to be on the first quadrant and the third quadrant. Just take a look at this. So this is the x-intercept is 5/2, of which is 2.5. If 2 is somewhere here, it means that 2.5 will be somewhere there. This is 5/2. Then your graph is gonna go like this. Just look at this carefully. Okay. There we go. That's our graph. And the other copy, we look at the y-intercept, of which is -5. -5. This is -2, -3, -4, -5, somewhere here. And then let's sketch the graph. It's gonna go like this. And continue like that. So this is our graph. Now we are done with the first question, second question, the third question, and we go to domain and range. Remember, I said when you write the domain and the range, you use the asymptotes. It means here for domain we are going to say, okay, this is number 4, domain. We are going to say x is the element of all real numbers, but x is not equal to, what is the asymptote here? X, it's 1. It's not equal to +1. What about the range? We're gonna say y is the element of all real numbers, but y is not equal to -2. I just believe that you are understanding something here. And then we go to the equations of the line of symmetry with a positive gradient and a negative gradient. Let's start with the one with a positive gradient. Line of symmetry, number 5. The one with the positive gradient, of which is positive value of m. We said we take it like this. Y equal this plus this plus this, just like that. You just write it as it is, like this. So you are going to say y equals x minus 1 minus 2. X minus 1 minus 2. And then this and this, just add them. This is going to give us -3. So this is the line of symmetry with the positive gradient. Let's try the one with the positive gradient. Y equals, and then I said you must put a negative here, and then you isolate x and p inside the bracket, of which is x minus 1, and then we have a -2 at the end. And then what do you do next? You multiply everything by -1. Negative times this one is gonna give us -x. This one and this one, negative and negative, +1 minus 2. And then this is -x. You add these two, they are going to give you -1. Then you are done. Let's try another example. Here's another example. We are going to try to answer all those questions again using this example. The first question, write down the equations of the asymptotes, and then you know that this is x, this is y. What are we gonna say? X is equal, this is negative, when it comes here it must become positive 3. And then y is gonna be equal, this one, you don't change this one, you just write it as it is. And then calculate the x and the y intercepts. This is number 2. For x-intercept you must let y equal 0. 2 divided by x minus 3 plus 1. Then this is going to be 0 equals 2 divided by x minus 3 plus 1. Then you take 1 to the other side, it's going to be negative 1 equals 2 divided by x minus 3. And then you introduce a denominator of 1 here, then you cross multiply. 1 times 2 is going to give you 2 equals this one times this one, we're going to have x minus 3 into the bracket, then minus 1 there. 2 equals negative 1 times x is minus x, negative 1 times negative 3, it's positive 3. And then we want to make x positive. Let's take it to the other side and take 2 to this side. X is gonna be positive here, and then here we have 3. Then we take 2 to the other side, it's gonna become negative 2. Then x is equal 3 minus 2 is 1, of which is gonna give us the coordinate of x as being 1 and 0. Just like that. Simple and short. Then now let's do let's get the y-intercept. Y equals, you know that for y-intercept you must make x, or let x equal 0. It means that x must be equal to 0. So we're going to say 2 divided by x is going to become 0 minus 3 plus 1. This is going to give us y equals 1 over 3. Then the y-intercept is going to be 0 and 1 over 3. Sketch the graph. We are going to sketch this function. Let's draw a Cartesian plane. Okay, this is our Cartesian plane. Don't forget that we start with the asymptote. The vertical asymptote is at -1. Positive 3. This is 1, 2. Let me say 3 somewhere here, maybe somewhere there. And then you do this broken line. This is gonna be 3. Then what about 1 over 3? The y-intercept is 1 over 3, of which is equal to 0,3333. Okay, and then we go to the y, the horizontal asymptote. It's positive 1, of which is gonna be somewhere there. This is 1. And then what is the x-intercept? X-intercept is 1. It's 1. Then it means that our graph is going to cut somewhere there at 1. And then What is the y-intercept? It's 1/3, of which is 0,333. 0,333 is gonna be somewhere there. This is 1/3. So it means that our graph is going to cut here and there. So we're gonna sketch it now. It's gonna be like this. It will cut here and there, just like that. Surely you can see that. Just like this. So it's gonna be like this. And then the other copy, as you can see that this one already took the y and the x-intercept. The other copy, it has to be between the asymptotes. Actually, all this graph must be between the asymptotes, like this one. This one is between the asymptotes. Even this one must be between the asymptotes. It means that the other copy will be somewhere there. You just draw it like this. Just like that. Previously, we had this graph. As you can see that this graph is this one. Is it upside down? Okay. This one, this graph was between this asymptote and this one. Even this one is between the asymptotes. Okay, let's now write the domain and the range of this function. You already know that for domain and range, we must use the asymptotes. So the domain is going to be x is the element of all real numbers, but x is not equal to the vertical asymptote of which is 3. And then range, y is the element of all real numbers, but y is not equal to 1, of which is the horizontal asymptote. And then now let's go to the line of symmetry, the equations of the line of symmetry. Remember, I said you take it like this, you take this, and that. So the one with a positive gradient is going to be y equals x minus 3 plus 1. And this is going to give you x, this and this is going to give you negative 2. The one with a negative gradient is going to be y equals, then you isolate x and p inside the brackets, put a negative there and isolate this and that. And then you say plus 1. Then you multiply everything by negative. This is going to be negative x, this and this, positive 3 plus 1. And this is going to give you negative x plus 4. Just like that. Simple, like ABC. Okay, guys. Now let's look at this question. This is different. Suppose you are now given a graph and you are supposed to determine the equation of that function. Let's take a look at this graph. We have the asymptote, the horizontal asymptote, of which is negative is 0 and 3, and then the vertical asymptote is 2 and 0, as you can see there. And then what about the x-intercept? The x-intercept is b, of which is 1 and 0, and the y-intercept is 0 and 2, of which is point A. And then additionally, you've been given the coordinate of t, or the point t, of which is 3/2 and negative 5. The question says, given g of x equals a divided by x plus p plus q, determine the values of a, q, and p if the point T lies on the graph. How are we gonna solve this one? Sorry, T, this point, if you can't see this coordinate, well, T is 3/2 and -5. Okay, I'm going to show you how to get the equation of this function. G of x is equal to a divided by x. Let's look at this. We already know that P represent the vertical asymptote and Q represent the horizontal asymptote. Now, what is the value of P? Let's take a look at the vertical asymptote, of which is 2 at this point. This is 2. And then when you take it back to the equation, it's going to change its sign. As you know that the value of P changes from the equation to the graph and from the graph back to the equation. Positive 2 is going to be -2. And then Q doesn't change, as you know that. So we are going to take this one and put it there because Q is the horizontal asymptote. So this is +3. And what are we going to do next? You just look at any point from this graph, substitute it, and then you will get the value of A. Let's pick the point T, and substitute it into the equation and solve for A. Y is going to be -5, and then x is going to be 3/2. So this is y equals a divided by x minus 2 plus 3, and then we substitute the value of y, of which is -5, equals a divided by x is 3/2 minus 2 plus 3. Then you take this to the other side, it's going to change its sign. It's going to be -5, and this is going to be -3, equals a divided by 3/2 minus 2 on your calculator. This is going to give you -1/2. -1/2. And then this is going to give you -8, equals a divided by -1/2. What do you do next? You introduce a denominator here, and then you cross multiply. This one times this. -8 multiplied by -1/2 is gonna give you +4, equals the value of A is equal to 4. Let's write down the equation. As g of x equals 4 divided by x minus 2 plus 3. They may also ask about a domain and a range. You already know that this is our domain. They may also ask about our domain, and you already know that for domain, they may also ask about a domain and a range, and you already know that we use the asymptotes to write the domain and the range. So domain is going to be x is the element of all real numbers, but x is not equal to, this is -2. When it comes here, it's gonna be positive. Oh, just look at the graph. The asymptote is 2. It means that you're going to write 2 here. And then the range, y is the element of all real numbers, but y is not equal to 3. Sorry, here there is x is not equal to